Hello and welcome to computer class. Today we're talking about email and how it became the world's first killer app on the internet. And so I want to start out with defining email and what it actually is. Email is a transmission of messages and files via a computer network. Kind of important there, definition, keywords, messages, and files. Specifically because nowadays we attach photos, documents, and all sorts of other things, PDFs and things, to our emails. So it used to just be messages, but now we actually have files. And a lot of times people are sending links as well. Email is short for electronic mail. That's what the E stands for, electronic mail. Um, and what an electronic revolution it has been, honestly. Once email was created, man, things blew up online. And what's amazing about email is it's free. I mean, it's not technically free for everyone. For the person who runs the email program, the email service provider, it's not free for them, but they usually monetize with some sort of advertising on the side. So, but technically speaking, to the end user, you and I, email is free. It's an amazing thing. How are email addresses made, though? An email address is a combination of a username and a domain name that identifies a user so that he or she can receive intranet mail. It's kind of like a house address. So on a house address, like on a street, you have the name of the street and then you have the individual number. So pretty much like before the at symbol would be the number, and then the at symbol, and then after it would be like the street address. Basically, online you can buy a name on the internet, and that's known as a domain name. So if I was to buy computerclassonline.com, that would be a address on the internet. And then I could create email addresses out of that address or domain on the internet. So for instance, I could create hello at Computer Class Online or Dave at computerclassonline.com. I can create my users out of that domain name. And so that's kind of how all email addresses are laid out. Um, they have a username, and you can name that whatever you want if you're the person controlling uh, the creation of the addresses, and then the domain name right there after the at symbol. So it's kind of neat. You can make as many email addresses as you want. They just can't, on that domain name, they just can't have the same, obviously the same name. So, who was the creator of email? Uh, Honestly, it's really hard to say, to be real. I would say most people attribute it to this guy named Ray Tomlinson, who sent the first email on something called the ARPANET. Was he the first guy to do it? I think he was. Um, and if you look it up online and you read books, it would seem that he was the first guy. Was it the army who sent the first email? I'm not sure. Honestly, was it some you know nerd in their basement? Who knows? But more than likely, it was this guy Ray Tomlinson. So I'm gonna give the credit to him for creating it. I have a little bit of history from this book, Inventing the Internet. This is kind of a quote from that. The first working network email program was created by Ray Tomlinson, a programmer at Bolt. Um, and Tomlinson modified an email program he had written, and then to specify a host name as well as a username in the mail address, and he modified a command so he would be able to transfer mail files between machines. And when he did that, he decided that the way that he would section off the username and the domain name was he was going to put the at symbol in the middle. And to him, it made sense to put the at symbol in the middle because it would distinguish um, local mail on the computer from network mail sent over a network. That's what he said, at least, which makes sense. So it's at that domain specifically. And as a result, the at symbol became the icon of email. Now we think of it, it's like, oh yeah, the at symbol's always in all email addresses. Um, and so I have a video right here that I'm going to link down in the description that you should totally watch. It's actually of Ray Tomlinson himself explaining how he invented email. So I guess that would be sort of a lot of proof to the fact that he did invent it. But go ahead and watch that and discover a little more there because I think it's super helpful. That being said, how does email work? Basically, this is a great diagram on screen that you see that I got. It's copyrighted. There's the address that it's copyrighted to. But basically, using an email program, you create and send a message on your computer or mobile device, and then the email program contacts software on an outgoing mail server. So it sends it out to this computer, so to speak, right here. Then number 3, software on the outgoing mail server determines the best route for the data and sends the message which travels along the internet routers to the recipient's incoming mail server. So there will be basically other servers on the internet that have to route the email because basically the internet is a whole bunch of wires that run up and down every single roadway all across the United States or all across the world really. And so that email will have to kind of go to the outgoing mail server, down all those wires, and then go to uh, all the different routers and route the best um, direction that it can um, over to that person's incoming mail server. And it just kind of sits there. And when the recipient uses their email program, basically, I'm sure you've seen it. Maybe you've picked up your phone or something and you've pulled down on your email. You actually pull down the new messages from the mail server and they pop in. Or you hit refresh if you're on a mouse with a mouse and keyboard on a PC. You hit refresh and everything kind of just pops in. That's because it's sitting in the mail server waiting to come to you, and then your mail service provider dumps it into your inbox. So when the recipient uses the email program to check for mail, messages, and message transfers from the incoming mail server to the recipient's computer or mobile device. So I think this illustrates it well. This diagram here sits on this mail server, goes and routes the best direction through the lines of the internet, goes and sits on that person's mail server. When they want to pull it down, they can, and that's how email works. So what is an email program then? If it's something you're interacting with and using, it's a program you use to create, send, receive, forward, store, print, and delete email messages. Here's an example of an interface. Probably one of the most popular email programs right now on the internet, Gmail. This is a very old picture of it. Back, retro picture right there. Gotta love it. Back when it looked different. Email programs are available as desktop apps as well sometimes. Like, for instance, Outlook, you can actually download it, I think. You got web apps like Gmail and, Yahoo Mail, Hotmail, AOL is another one. Verizon.biznet, whatever you want to call it. There's lots of different email programs out there, and so people use all sorts of things. The reason people might have like at gmail.com is because you've actually created an email address with Google, and actually the Gmail stands for Google Mail, and so it's using their domain name. You don't actually own the domain name; they own it, and they're allowing you to create a user at their domain name, which is kind of cool, allowing you to use their service for free. Thank you, Google, and enjoy the benefits of having everything that comes with a Google account, which is pretty cool, I think. That being said, and attached to email addresses, usually there's something called email lists that you can create. An email list or electronic mailing list is a group of email addresses used for mass distribution of a message. And so maybe you're someone like an internet marketer, or you just have a ton of friends that you want to email all at once. You could put them into a group to where you could just type a special address. that you've created, if you're the one controlling kind of the portal that the email addresses are created in, you can create email groups and add users to it. And then when you click send and you target that email group, it blasts out, an email to like 500 people, let's just say. Um, so this is why when you buy a product or something, or maybe you sign up for something online, they get your email address and they keep sending you these messages, these promotionals over and over and over again. It's because you're subscribed to electronic list and you're in their list of email addresses that they have for that email list. So the only way to get out of an email list is actually to unsubscribe. And usually they will have like down at the bottom of the email some little tiny link that says, unsubscribe or, you know, opt out or something like that. And you can just click that. It'll open a new browser window and you can unsubscribe from receiving their annoying sales pitches every Friday or something like that. So, yeah, basically that's what an email list is. It's a mass distribution of people sending emails to a lot of people at once. Okay? Advantages to email. Email is sent and received almost instantaneous. I think that's pretty, that didn't used to be. When I was a kid, I mean, it took a while to send an email. Our internet was pretty bad. And it used to take, you could click send on an email and you could go make a sandwich and come back and it just had sent. So, the internet wasn't always fastest, but for the most part, today's age, what's nice is it sends instantaneous and the person can receive it instantaneous. What I like about email versus like a phone call or a text is, unlike a phone call, it doesn't require the sender and receiver to be available at the same time. I think text is kind of the same way, but like phone call, if you call the person, they don't pick up, it's like, I guess you could leave them a message, but it's, they don't necessarily answer, then you have that awkward, I gotta leave a message. And who wants to leave a message, right? Usually you just hang up at that point. But with email, it can sit there, your message is preserved. Email is a great way to preserve a message. Like if you're having a conversation with your boss, or you're having a conversation with somebody and you're gonna need to remember that later, it kind of gives a running dialogue of what was said, so you can go back and look. And if they say, something like, I didn't say that, then you can go back and clip literally what they said because you have the actual wording that they said. And a lot of times people don't like that because that will entangle them in their own words. But oftentimes that's actually really helpful because you can see what was said if you get thrown into a conversation with email. So anyway, there's some advantages to email for sure. Good practices for email. I would say keep your messages very brief if possible. We live in an information age where people have a ton of things flying at them in the face, and they're just not going to read a 500-word email, 1,000-word email, a book that you send out. People think that they will, but let's be honest. People don't read as much as they used to. So, respond to email messages promptly. It's good etiquette to respond to an email message within 24 to 48 hours. If you don't do that, people are thinking, well, like, are they going to respond? Like, did they get my message? Are they mad at me? Like, if you're a company and you don't respond within 24 to 48 hours, people are thinking you probably have bad service or something like that. So it's just traditional to respond as quickly as possible. I try to respond within 24 hours to most people. And there are days I don't always get to that, but I try to respond as promptly as possible. That's a very professional thing to do. Use proper grammar, spelling, and punctuation. I'm not the best at spelling. Like, I'll be the first to admit that. I'm terrible at spelling. There are things you can add, like, to your email program, like Grammarly, and it can help you with spelling and grammar and punctuation and stuff. So those are nice little add-ons to be able to use in your email programs. And I would recommend that you know, look back over your email and read it through and find those grammatical errors and, you know, Never respond to unsolicited messages like spam. You know, if cool guy 37 sends you an email and it's like, click this link for a free yada yada yada, you click the link and then it infects your PC, you download this horrible virus that just wrecks your system, and you spend like 5 days, you know, getting your PC fixed. So it's just never a good practice to like respond to unsolicited messages. Just delete them and then delete them out of the deleted folder. Because let's be honest, those people have nothing good for you in mind. Um, anyway, yeah, don't respond. Just do yourself a favor. Definitely don't pay them money. That's no, absolutely not. Number 5, use meaningful subject lines. I try to keep my subjects to like 3 words max. So if I'm sending an email about computer class, I might say, um, you know, in the title, like computer class dash lesson 1 or something, or computer class dash notes. I'll make it really simple, or maybe I'll do one of those uh, up and down lines on the keyboard, but I make it a very simple, easy to read subject line that people can clearly see. Or sometimes if I'm emailing someone I don't really doesn't really know me, I might say like David Wright and then divide it a little bit and then say computer class and then divide a little bit and then say lesson 1. It just makes it easy to read for people. So usually trying to keep it down to like 3 words or less, and that helps people, because you got to remember that's all they're reading really fast, so it helps people click on it when they have a billion messages. Read the message before you send it. Make sure there's not an awkward run-on sentence or something, or you didn't mean to say something, or it auto-corrected, or whatever. I've seen people accidentally send words they did not mean to send, and so you don't want to send your boss some cuss word accidentally because your keyboard auto-corrected, and yeah, this is not good. But I've seen it happen. So be careful. Read over your messages. I usually try to read mine like 2 or 3 times, and if the message is really long, maybe 1 time through, but shouldn't be sending many long emails. Use email when you want a permanent record of communication. Again, as I already stated, if you want people to be able to go back and look and see, what did you say? When did you say it? It's good to create that permanent record. You might see somebody like in passing in the hallway and be like, hey, yeah, and talk about something. What you want to do after you do that is you send a follow-up email and say, hey, I know we just talked. Here's the information I said I would send you, and you create a permanent record of that interaction. Always a great decision. This is a hilarious video I found on TED about Andrew Veach, I think is his name, and he responds to spam, people that create spam messages, and it's just so funny. By the way, spam is not actually like a can of spam. It's like bad messages. So people trying to hack you, people trying to scam you. So check that video out. I'll link it in the description because it's hilarious and so funny. And hopefully you learned something today from this lesson, and I will see you in the next video.